the Egyptians were, they called it the seat of the soul, and that they believed that, the pineal gland was your connection to the afterlife.
And hey, they were right.
Yeah.
This is because this is the mystery that DMT, which is the active ingredient of ayahuasca, is generated by the pineal gland.
They believe that, though, but that hasn't
not
really
proved.
totally
It
been
was Rick
proven,
Strassman's
right?
hunch, but something in our bodies, and the pineal gland is the most likely suspect.
That's a big sticking point with critics.
Is generating DMT, because the presence of DMT in the human body is not in dispute.
Yes,
Where it's coming from is in dispute.
Right.
But its presence in the body is not in dispute.
It just sounds cool if it really comes from the pineal gland.
It kind of sounds kind of
If
cool.
it comes from the third eye,
Particularly, since the pineal gland is what was originally a sense organ, and so the suggestion would be that it's still a sense organ. It's a kind of sixth sense, which the lens that it uses is DMT.
And what people don't realize is that in certain reptiles, it actually has a retina and a lens.
Yeah, and it's light sensitive.
It is a fucking eyeball.
Yeah, it's light sensitive. Yes, in reptiles. In humans, it's not. It's sunk deeper into the brain. But a very mysterious organ, and I would still say you're right. It's not proved. I would still say the most likely candidate for the generation of DMT.
Well, Strassman is working on figuring that out right now. They're working on more detailed studies to try to exactly pinpoint the location. It's where it's created.
I'm glad that's happening. I mean, the point that you were making just now. I think that by cutting these ancient plant allies out of our life and by demonizing them and creating this atmosphere of fear and hatred around them, this is a suicidal path that our society is taking, and we only need to look at the past in order to realize that that is true. There is a danger in the human species that we get locked into a particular frame, and right now we are locked into the technology frame. Of course, we're advancing technology very, very, very fast, but that doesn't mean we aren't locked. We're locked into one frame, and we're not thinking outside of that frame, and we can see the consequences of being locked into that frame, which is our world is in chaos. Our world is in a state of hatred and fear and suspicion right now. There's all this horrible stuff going on, and we are literally on the edge of destroying ourselves. And there's never been a time in the human story when we've more needed to break out of our rigid patterns of behavior and start thinking about things from a different point of view. And nature has provided us with the means to do so, and those means are our plant allies.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating concept, and the concept that human beings are working against themselves, and they're working to keep things fucked up and make them more, and that the only way to sustain a society as complex and large and invasive as the one we currently live in, the only way is to do it the way we're doing it. And that if all of a sudden psychedelic drugs were introduced and then materialism was, sort of pushed in the back burner, and spiritualism was something that people, started really understanding and appreciate their connection more, who the fuck's going to go to work?
Yeah,
who's going to be killing all the chickens we need for chicken McNuggets?
Yeah, things would become very different. But the fact is that our existing economic model is falling apart at the seams anyway, and people are living in misery and doubt and chaos and confusion because it's just not working. It's not working. The whole thing is not working. Any society that can stand back while the Amazon jungle is burnt down at the sort of country-sized rate every year, this is an insane society. We obviously live in a demented society, completely insane.
A lot of people aren't even aware of how crazy that looks if you watch it, and you see documentaries on it online of the mass amounts of forest that they're chopping down. It's bizarre.
And that's why it's interesting that this particular agent, ayahuasca, comes from the Amazon.
Yeah.
I can't help feeling in the Amazon they strongly believe that an intelligent entity lies behind the ayahuasca vine. They always speak of her as she, most of the cultures do, is using the vine as an access point to humanity. Oh, I've just lost my thread. How did I get to that?
Well, no, the idea is it comes from the Amazon, which is being destroyed.
Yes, exactly. That at the very time when our Western technological culture is responsible for mass destruction in the Amazon, which it is. And by the way, it's a problem that could be easily solved. We don't need to destroy the Amazon. We really don't need those soybean farms in the Amazon to, feed cattle so that people can eat hamburgers. We much more need the rainforest. Right. So at the very time that the Amazon Amazon is under threat from the Western way of life, which has infected almost every culture on the planet, at that very time the Amazon is sending out its emissary in the form of the Vine of Souls, who is kind of extending her coiled, sinuous self all around the world and reaching into human consciousness everywhere. Because ayahuasca is being drunk all around the world
everywhere. I know. So I've met someone on Facebook who takes it regularly.
That's a cop.
No
That's a
way.
cop, and you're going to jail.
No, that's no cop. He knits like, what are they called? The shibobo, or there's a name.
The shipibo, yeah.
Shipibo. He knits these patterns. He showed that they knit the exact things you were saying that are on the cave walls, like the honeycomb patterns and stuff. Yeah. So they create these beautiful quilts. Is it quilts?
They do.
Make?
Yes.
That are just incredible depictions of what apparently the
ayahuasca visions. Yeah, of the geometric aspect of that.
Do you ever think of how much you play a part of that? Does that ever focus in on your mind? I mean, your instincts obviously were to produce this book and to talk about it very openly and honestly, and to do interviews like this and have discussions like this where you talk about it. And this right now is going to reach 500,000 people. Right. And they're going to consider what you're saying, and they're going to look into it, and they're going to go, whoa. Do you really think that there's some fucking vine that you can take from the jungle that allows you to communicate with the spirit world?
I feel some responsibility in this area.
Let's explain to people what it does for noobs, for people who are not aware of what ayahuasca is.
And the first thing I'd like to say is that ayahuasca, and as a matter of fact, all psychedelics are very serious business. I personally do not believe that psychedelics are appropriate for recreational activity. I think if somebody chooses to do that, that's their body, that's their